The Trump administration is seeking to expand internet access in Cuba. The move could have implications for his re-election. RT's Dan Cohen has the details.
The State Department announced a new program called the Cuba Internet Task Force. The task force will consist of U.S. government and non-governmental representatives to, quote, promote the free and unregulated flow of information in Cuba. It's part of the National Security Presidential Memorandum of, quote, strengthening the policy of the United States court towards Cuba that was issued by President Trump in June 2017. This policy seeks, quote, advancing Cuban human rights, encouraging the growth of a Cuban private sector independent of government control, and enforcing final orders of removal against Cuban nationals in the United States. The U.S. has sought to overthrow the Cuban government ever since the 1959 revolution. This is not the first time the U.S. has attempted to use social media to agitate for regime change. In 2010, the Obama administration attempted, and failed, to stir unrest in Cuba through a fake Twitter-like text message service. I spoke to author, writer, and political scientist Arnold August, who has been studying U.S. relations with Cuba for more than 2 decades. His latest book is Cuba-U.S. Relations, Obama and Beyond.
They're trying to get into Cuba to establish its own American internet system in Cuba as a sort of a Trojan horse within Cuba.
August says the tactic is part of a bellicose stance Trump has taken towards Cuba, in part because he is forced to rely on Senate Intelligence Committee member Marco Rubio to defend him from allegations of collusion with Russia. This reliance prevents Trump from easing the blockade to satisfy his constituency in grain-growing Midwest states who want to sell agricultural equipment to Cuba.
I think this is one of the payoffs that he is providing Marco Rubio, giving in to his demand to harden his stance against Cuba.
With President Trump already thinking about his 2020 campaign, his aggressive stance towards Cuba may prove costly to his chances of re-election. In Washington, Dan Cohen, RT.